Good evening YouTube, it is I, Danielle, better known as Danielle Happy Medium, and in this video we're going to look at messages that are back to front and off the couple of questions that I had from my Aussie lot out in Australia, in particular a gentleman called Darren. He asked me to talk a little bit about when we get communications through and you talk about people here on the earth plane, is that psychic or is that coming from the spirit world? So the easiest way that I thought that I could break it down for you lot to get it is messages back to front. Now me as a teacher, and it is a student still, and as a mentor and everything else that you saw I want to put under that bracket, I've watched many students deliver messages in many different ways, including myself. And the norm of what normally happens is we get the loved one, we give the evidence, and we give the message. That's normally the general rule of thumb. And this here is a structure in which has been placed and has been in place for many years and never has been questioned nor looked at. Reason being, I don't quite know that one, and I have been doing a little bit of research on this one to understand where all of this comes from. Over the last, I would say, 2 years and training with my students, what I have started to see is messages, couldn't think there, then the loved one, then the evidence. I've also seen the evidence, the loved one, the evidence, the loved one, and then the message. So there's a few different sort of profiles going on here. No one is right, no one is wrong. The majority of them are done this way, but like I say, I've seen them done this way. Now this one could be interpreted as psychic. People are linking in and bringing the message forward first, or talking about the loved one here on the earth plane. Now, I don't always necessarily agree with that. That could be a possibility. We can never sort of rule that one out. But the spirit world, and through the intelligence and through sort of the fact that the general rule of thumb is that the loved ones still continue to watch over the loved ones here to the earth plane. So it would only sort of really sort of box down to common sense savvy to think that the spirit world's probably going to talk about their loved ones in some capacity. I'm just going to move that light because it's in my eyes. Anyway, let me just turn it a bit that way. There we go. So this could be questionable. Could be questionable as the psychic link, because what we could say is that the medium has tapped into the energy of the auric field and has started giving a message, and then the spirit world has drawn through, which has then given us the loved one and then given us the evidence. There is always that possibility. But it could also be that that particular communicator works a different way to other communicators. And a big thing that I have come to realise over the years of doing my mediumship, and also through training and such things like that, is that we can never truly understand everything that the spirit world's doing, because when just not that clued up, please don't take that as being mean or anything, because I'm not trying to be mean, just that they have a better understanding. And what we have to understand is that every medium's mind moves differently and works differently. We sort of have a format because it's professional to have it a formatted way, or it's professional to do it this way, or it's professional to work that way, or it should be done this way. But for me personally, I never not want to not see all three of these. I've even seen others, but these are more, this is 3 ones that I've seen while I've been doing training. And no, I don't believe that one is right nor one is wrong. I just believe that that's the way the particular spirit world and the communicator is working with that mind. Or it's the way that that mind's been able to perceive the energy in order for that information to come over. So in all fairness to Darren out in Australia, who said, you know, when he's done communications this way, he's been accused of working psychically. I personally have to question that. I do. As a medium, I will, because I have been taught this way, that it must be the loved one, then the evidence and the message. But over the years, so I'll give you a story. So maybe it's about 8 months ago, 10 months ago, I was in a private workshop up here in the northeast of England with a particular girl who I know very well, and I know her mediumship is very good, and has done messages like this, so which is the loved one, the evidence, then the message. But for this particular individual, she went here, message, loved one, then evidence. And when I said to the spirit world, well, when I said to my guide, look, like, why is this being done this way? Like, why is it that that's being given off in that particular sort of structured format? And his words back to me was, Danielle, evidence comes in many different forms and in many different ways. And none is not right, nor none is not wrong. It is only but the perception and the way in which that we as the humans believe it should be delivered. This is not the way the spirit world believe it should be delivered. They believe that the evidence should be given over in whichever way the communicator or the loved one who's come forward, it is being delivered. Now, in order to all them who's probably going to start screaming at me at the screen going, but what about the evidence? What about the evidence? What about this? Again, what we have to understand with evidence is evidence comes in many, many different forms. It does not always come in names, in addresses, even personalities. You know what I mean? There is many, many different ways in which the spirit world works with us. And that is why every medium is different. And as long as we do the job of proving that life continues after this life, and as long as we do it with the right intention and through the right sort of putting our mind in the spirit world, in waiting for the loved one before you jump out on, you know, that psychic link, then I don't see why it is that we shouldn't see mediumship presented in many different formats. Because it is not our job as the instrument to be telling a communicator how and which way they feel presentation of evidence should be. We are presenting evidence because we as humans believe that that is the right way. We put labels around everything that we deliver because we feel that that's important in order for it to look professional on a rostrum, is so that it looks more pretty to the general public when we're delivering it. And it's also because of the fact that people say we work with people's loved one, we have to have respect, we have to have these types of things. But we can still have all the respect in the world for the spirit world and for the loved ones and for the congregations, but it can be done in different ways. And what we have to understand is not one way is right, nor one way is wrong. So in question to Darren, and when he asked me, is it psychic to do it this way? If you put your mind in the spirit world, and that is where your mind is, and nothing's took your mind from the spirit world, then in short, the answer to that question is no. If you have not moved your mind and gone to the spirit world, then I have to then ask whether or not there is a psychic link there. But if not, and you have put your mind in the spirit world, then there's no reason why your evidence or your way of doing your work cannot be presented in one of these three ways. Because ultimately, it is only but the way in which the world perceives it should be, other than how you should do it with your communicators and your team. So I hope this might rattle a few cages. I'm not quite sure. It might be that most people may not agree with it. Many people might think that it's got to be done this way because it's always been done this way. But I'm always open to looking at something from a totally new perspective, and always looking to try to find a new way to do mediumship, or a new way that will always bring extra harmony or extra blending of the spirit world. And if the spirit world's working this way, then go with it. If the spirit world's working this way, then go with that too. Not every message might be like this. Maybe some messages may be like this or like this. Mix it up. Have a go. See what works for you. But don't get too caught up in what everybody else is doing. Because just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean to say it's right. Everything's open to questionable. Everything's open to interpretation. Everything could and should be evolved. Maybe we need to look at the way in we present our work could also look to be evolved as well. And how we bring different forms of evidence through many different faceted ways. So I hope this has answered your question a little bit, Darren. But really, in answer to your question, as long as you've moved your mind and you keep it in the spirit world, it's not psychic, it's mediumistic. If you haven't moved your mind and your mind's not in the spirit world, it's psychic. I've been Danielle, better known as Danielle, a happy medium, and I'll see you all lot very, very soon. Bye for now.